गुड मॉर्निंग फ्रेंड्स। आज हम सेल्सफोर्स में एसक्यूएल के कुछ एंट्री क्वेश्चन देखते हैं, क्योंकि एसक्यूएल के क्वेश्चन पूछे जाते हैं इंटरव्यू में। तो स्टार्ट करते हैं। व्हाट इज द एसक्यूएल? एसक्यूएल इज the Salesforce object query language. It is used to query data from the Salesforce object. Next, can you explain the syntax of the basic the SQL query? SQL query is made up of the 5 different part of the first is select clause, which is used to the specify which fields you want to the retrieve data from. The from of the clause is used to the specify which of the object you want to the retrieve the data from. The where clause is used to the specify any condition that the data must meet. The order by clause is the used to the specify how you want to the data to be started. Next question: how do you select all fields from an object using the SQL? You can the select all fields from an object by using the wildcard in your the SQL query. For example, the following query would return all fields from the account object. Select from accounts. Next, it is a possible to use to multiply where the condition in the SQL statement. If yes, then how? Yes, it is a possible to use to multiply where the condition in the on SQL the statement. You can do this by using the and or the or and or operators between you the condition. For example, where conditions 1 or condition 2 and condition 3. Next questions: which operator can be used to the combine to the more criteria while writing SQL query? The and operator can be used to the combine the two more criteria will be writing SQL query. Next questions: what are the subqueries and inner queries in the context with SQL? Sub subqueries are the queries that are the embedded within the another SQL query, and inner query is a subquery that is used to the retrieve the data from the same object that is being queried by the other queries. Next questions: what is the difference between the parent-child and relationship and lookup relationship? Parent-child relationship are when an object is the object of the another object, and the child's object cannot be exit without the parent's object. Lookup relationship are when one object has a reference to another object, but the child object can be exit parent's object. Next questions: how do you access data across object using the SQL? You can access data across the object using SQL by using the subquery. A subquery is a query that is instead inside of the another query. The outer query is known as the parent's query, and the inner query is known as the child's query. The child's query can access data from any object that is assembled to the parent's query. Next question: what is the maximum numbers of the records that can be the written by the single SQL query? The maximum number of the records that can be written by the single SQL query is 1 lakh. Next question: what happens if we exceed the limit for the false records in the single SQL query? If you exceed the limit for the records in the single SQL query, then the query will be failed and you will be not be able to the retrieve and any data. Next question: what are the some common errors that is occur when the running SQL statement? Some common errors that can be occur when the running the SQL statement include forgetting to include the semicolon at the end of the query, for getting too close, but parents this using the invalid fields name and using the invalid object names. Next questions. How does bulkification help the reduce SQL errors? Bulkifications is the process of the ensuring that your the code can be handled large data set by the making efficiency used to the of SOSL database. This is an important database. SQL errors can be acquire the faint code attempt to carry too much data at once by the bulkifying the code. You can help the reduce the chance of the these errors occurring. Next question. It is there any way to the check the current status of our the active DML operation? If yes, then how? Yes, there is a way to the check the status of the active DML operation in the Salesforce. You can do this by checking in the syntax apex job object. This is the object and then the information about all the asynchronous apex jobs, including the information about the status of the jobs. Next question, how do you platform the SQL queries on the related object? You can perform the SQL queries can be a related object by the using in subquery. Subquery is a query that is a instead inside of the another query in the order to the perform as a subquery on of the related object. You need to first query the parents object. From there you can use the parents object ID the fields to query the related object. Next questions. What are the different type of the relationship queries available in the Salesforce? There are four the different type of the relationship query available in the Salesforce. Parents to childs. This is type of the query returns all of the child's records for the given the parents records. Child to parents. This type of the query returns all of the parents records for given the child's records. Sibling. This type of the query returns all the records that is related to the same parents records. Self, this is the type of the query returns records and all of the child's records. Next questions. What is the SQL? When should it be performed over the SQL? SQL is a Salesforce object search language. It is used to search for the data across all of the object and regardless of the whether they are the related to each other of or not. SQL they should be used when you the need to the search for the data across the multiple object and tree. Next questions. What is the difference between the static and the dynamic SQL queries? Static SQL and queries are the written in the advance and are not be able to the change at the run times. Dynamic SQL query on the others hand or the world at runtime and can be the change at needed. This makes the dynamic SQL query more flexible, but also the more default to debug. Next questions. What are the limitation of the SQL queries? The main limitation of the SQL queries is that they can be only be used to query data from the single object at a time. This is the means that if you want to the query data from the multiple object, you will be need to the use multiple SQL queries, and additionally SQL queries can only be used to the query data that is already stored in Salesforce, cannot be used to the query data from the external source. What are the some best practice to the follow when using the SQL? Some best practice to the follow when using the SQL include used to be, bind variable to the avoid SQL injections at attack. Use the limit keywords to limit out the number of the records and returns. Used to the opposite keywords to keep a certain the number of the records. Used to order by the keywords to short of the records. Used to where the keywords to filter the records. Next questions. What is the best tools to run an SQL queries? The best tools to run SQL queries is a Salesforce developer console. Next questions. What is the query plan tools? Query plan is the developer console can be helped to speed up of SQL queries done over the large value of the data. This is a search of the powerful tools. When you the delaying without the performance, developer can be used to use these tools to the optimize and the speed of the SQL queries. How to prevent SQL injections? There are the number of the technologies you can use to the prevent SQL injections. Static queries without the being variable, string the escape with typecasting, replacing charters, whitelisting. Next question: what is the disadvantage of the dynamic SQL? One disadvantage is the dynamic SQL is a case SQL injection in where the condition which facing one of the basic of the sum takes to avoid the which we have need to the use string in cap single the bits. There is no possibility for of this in the static SQL. Next questions: what are the type of the SQL statement in the Salesforce? There are two type of the SQL statement: string search for Salesforce defined contact select XY first name last name from the contact where the last name and select search for what is a dynamic SQL. Dynamic SQL refer to the creation of the SQL returns runtimes where the Apex code and dynamic SQL enables you to create more the flexible application. For the example, you can create the search based on the input from the end user and updated records with the varying the first name of this is the major difference between the SQL dynamic SQLs. Dynamic SQLs, it is used to the refer to the collection of the SQL string of the runtime with the Apex code. Dynamic SQL enables to the create of the more flexible application. To create the dynamic SQL query in runtime used to database query methods in the following ways. It is a return single object when you query return of the single records. For example, object database query string and limit. It is a return of list of the object when the query returns more than is the single records. For example, string method test string test name list object database query select ID name from my first object where name my test string. Dynamic SQL can be the invariable by the database query string where query the string in the query generated at runtime operation and the processing in big work the same at a static SQL. Example list contact list and database query and select ID name from the contact and where the first name and James. Next questions. What is a query plan tools? Query plan tools is the developer console can be help to speed and SQL queries run by over the large volume the data. This is a such of the powerful tools and when the data and with the performance developer can use this to the optimize and the speed SQL queries. Next questions. How to prevent SQL injections? There are the number of the technique you can use to the prevent SQL injection. Static the queries within the bind variable string escape the single quiz types casting replacing the charters white listing. Next question: what is the disadvantage of the dynamic SQL? One of the disadvantage is the dynamic SQL. It is a quest SQL injection in the condition where the facing one of the basic of the sum takes to avoid the which we have need to the use string and escape in single quote. There is no possibility of the this in the static SQL. Next questions. What are the dynamic SQLs? With dynamic SQL, developer can be create the SQL statement in the runtime. This is the allowing to put more than flexible application. Dynamic SQL statement list of the list object where the each contain the search result of the particular object type of the result will be stored in the some order. This object specify the dynamic SQL query. Dynamic SQLs cannot be used to where in inline SQL can be used to such as a regular assignment and the for loop. Dynamic SQL is also having the sum, governor limit, and static the SQL and statement. Next question: when do we use database get query locators? Database get query locators returns where the locator that is runs your selected SQL query returning list that is can be iterated then over the batch apex or used to the displaying a large set of the Salesforce page and allowing the things such as a nations and query locator methods. The following the methods for the query locators are the instant methods. Get query returns the query used to the instant instantiate and database query locator object. This is a useful when the testing the start methods returns a new the instant of the query locators. The query locators can be returns up to the 15 million record and this should be the used to in instant when you want to be but batch of higher volume of the data. Next question: what is the for updating clause in the SQL? For updating clause will be log of the records from the creating the updated from other the transaction until the create and transaction completed. Syntax select ID name of the account for update. Syntax select the last name, first name, phone number of the contact where the last name is the likes. Next questions. What are the some key considerations of the dynamic SQL? Any compare the time of the errors are not the thrown willing of saving the dynamic query. You have to be extremely accurate to prevent the runtime errors. Dynamic SQL can be also some protection queries. There is third SQL injections and millicounts users might internationally pass some of the charters which can be retrieved over the SQL internet if you want to must. Dynamic SQL used to the escape single the quit and methods and utilize user the simple input. This is the methods add to the escape charters to all of the single quickness make is a string in the pass it in the form of the use the methods ensure that is that all of single the question mark of the retries enclosing the string user database and commands. Next question: what is the use to of the order by the clues in the SQL is use the optional order by the in the select statement of the SQL query in the control that is the order of the query result is a if alphabetically beginning without the IT records or of none. You can use to order by despite the MP3 records first or the last. You cannot be ordered of the select statement and control the order of the query result. There is no guarantee of number. It is a result unless you can the order. Yes, in query syntax order by fields order the list by list ASC and BESC none and first last name. Next question: what is a offset in SQL? Offset is used to the skip of the row and from the start of the query. Offset the considerations. The maximum limit of works is a 200 rows and requesting one of the offset grid then is a 200 will be the result in the number on side value the range and errors and offset cannot be used to the subquery in the where the clause. Next questions: what is the limit in SQL? Limit clause is used to the restrict the number of the row to be the written by the SQL query and statement should be last statement in SQL syntax select ID name industry from account limit. Next, note if you want to the use to limit and the offset together we have to the use limit of following the by offset. You cannot use all the row and the for the update together. Next question: Name some the date function is SQL. Date and the time keywords today, yesterday, this week, this next week, last week. Some as a 4 month as, and years. Last week, last year's next week, and some of the month of day and years, date and time and methods. Calendars month, calendars quarter, calendars years, calendar month, calendar day month, day week, day years, day only. Next questions. Select ID from account all of the row. What is the result of the query? The SQL statement can be the all row keywords and the keywords to all record in organization, including dedication records of the our achieved activity, system assessed and equal. Select ID account of the from the account and where the account ID all row you cannot use to all the rows in the query records is your organization recycle being you cannot be used to the all of row keywords without the keywords with the four updated keywords. What is the difference between the where and having? Where clause and filters recording the SQL query, there is no agreement function. The having clause filters is a result after data aggregated by the aggregated function. Next, what is the difference between the SQL SOSL and SOQL? And SOQL and Salesforce object query language and SOSL Salesforce object search language. Only one object cannot be searched at a time. Many two object cannot be searched at a time. Can query any type of the fields. Can query only on emails. Text once cannot be used to the classes and triggers. Cannot be used in classes but not the triggers. DML operation cannot be performed. Can own query result. DML operation cannot be performed and the search result. Return the records, return the fields. Next questions. Explain the different operation used to the SQL and use and returns records that is made to the condition. This query returns all of the records that how to first name in certain and the last name. Select name and emails from the contact where first names select and only last name or used to or the returns records that is made to one of the two conditions. This is query returns record the records with the last name in James or the last name of the bar. Select name emails from the context where last name in James or the last name is a bar. थैंक यू फ्रेंड्स। ये जो हमने एसक्यूएल के क्वेश्चन देखे तो आप लोगों को ये इंटरव्यू में फायदा हो सकता है। तो अगर आप मेरा वीडियो अच्छे लगते हैं और मेरे चैनल को लाइक और सब्सक्राइब कीजिए। थैंक यू, बाय बाय।